there, retro gamers. Welcome to another episode of Game Overcast. I am your host, the Game Over CEO, David Kaelin, and thank you for joining us.
You're CEO now?
I'm CEO. I've been the CEO.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
You got promoted.
I've always been the CEO. Even when it was just me, I was the CEO of myself.
No. Well,
It's just at that point, I was everything from the part-timer to the store manager to the district manager to the CEO. I was everything in one. And now I've shaved off a couple of those roles that other people do, and I still do the rest.
well, you shaved.
And I've shaved.
Yeah.
I've shaved. Look at this. I'm ready to go. I am shaved like Grogu.
You look like Grogu now, yeah.
Yeah. We got our big sexy ears, shaved head, big sleepy eyes that are kind of dead inside from all the work that we have to do to work with all of our stresses in life.
When Grogu uses the Force, he just collapses.
Yeah, like he passes out if you. Yeah. That's like me too. We'll do like Classic Game Fest weekend. I'll go home and just like Grogu, I'll just curl up in a little fetal position on the floor.
Love it.
Yeah. So anyway, but welcome back. This is episode 10 of season 4. Can you believe it? 10. So that's pretty good. We're trying to do them every week. We've missed a couple weeks, and we probably honestly will miss a couple more. So I think for the year we'll try to get around 40 to 45 shows in. I think we'll be able to do that. But thank you for joining us. I'm glad to be back. I don't feel like I have quite as much prepared for this show, so it's going to be a lot more just winging it. Because every other week we haven't winged it at all. But this will be a new thing that we do this time. But anyway, so we're going to go right into the show. Let's go to level 1, and we're going to talk about current events, what's going on in the world of gaming. And we're back with level 1, current events. So what's going on in the world of gaming this past week? Not a whole lot of news, but one that especially was interesting for me and fans of Game Over. We had a report that came out on Reddit that had a picture of a video game store that was bombed in Ukraine recently. We have the war going on right now with Russia and Ukraine, and crazy, sad, awful, horrible stuff going on over there. I hate it. And the only thing worse than like seeing it all going on is seeing a Game Over store over there, and it got destroyed too. I'm like, damn it! Even the Game Over store is getting bombed. Damn you, Russia! But anyway, technically, well, first of all, shout out to Jason, who one of our viewers, fans of Game Over. I'm not sure how he got connected with us. Maybe new customer, maybe longtime customer. But thank you for reaching out. He sent this story my way, and there's a picture. I put it on my social media, on the Game Over CEO social media, so you can see it there. Technically, the store is called Game Lover, but the L is like the L piece out of a Tetris puzzle. And it's kind of offset, so it actually looks like Game Over with just this little L kind of floating in the middle. So he and other people probably saw this thing on the news and thought it was a Game Over store that was bombed. But technically it was Game Lover. And even if it was Game Over, it's not our Game Over. It's not one of mine in Ukraine. We've expanded, but not quite that far. But anyway, just to let everybody know, if you see that picture floating around on social media, that's not us. It's not one of my stores. However, as all of us in the retro gaming community, are saddened by what's happening in Ukraine, and all of us, want to, pull for each other and each other's success. Our hearts definitely go out to the people over there, because, how hard it must be to run a retro game, or even a video game store of any kind in Ukraine before, and now the fact that one got destroyed, it's just it really kind of brings it home to like myself and people that watch this podcast. A lot of people that know me and know Game Over. It's just a small business, local chain. Literally started as a mom and pop. Now it's a local chain, but still very much a small business at heart. Over there, that's happening all the time now. Mom and pop businesses, bakeries, schools, little shops in beautiful downtown areas just getting destroyed. Obviously people killed and families uprooted, and it's awful. But I wouldn't have even thought that there were I don't know why, but I wouldn't have even thought there were video game stores over there. But I guess there are. I mean, it's a country of 40 million people. It's, so I'm sure they're over there. But yeah, seeing one bombed out was pretty touching. I mean, it was a pretty sad moment. So Anyway, not us. Thank you, Jason, for sending that my way. And yeah, we really hope that the people that work in and run and own and operate that store and all their customers and all their families are okay. And, they just got the store and nobody was in there at the time. But yeah, crazy situation over there. I don't want to get too far into that side of the news because then this will be a really depressing podcast. But anyway, so interesting picture for sure. In slightly happier news, actually a lot happier news, the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie is coming out soon. Really soon, as we found out last week. I thought it was like a summer blockbuster kind of movie, but apparently it's a spring blockbuster. But it's coming out April 8th. So if you're watching the show right now, it's probably coming out this week or right around the time you're watching the show. So definitely get your tickets and go check that out. It looks really cool. Bigger and better, funnier than the first one. And I love supporting video game related movies. So if there's any way that it might appeal to me, I'm going to be there, checking it out. So I'm going to go check that out. And I never go to movies anymore. So maybe this will be one that actually, I can get out to see. So that's cool. Excuse me. In more retro gaming news, Atari a couple weeks ago bought Moby Games. I don't think I mentioned that on the show. So I know we talked about some of the other game studios, game companies buying other game developer studios, and I think I missed this one. Atari buying Moby Games for $1.5 million. So they have their new VCS console that's like an all digital kind of remake of Atari that has a digital library you can add to it, and Moby Games just gives them more ammunition for that selection of games. And like we talked about many times in the show previously, there's a lot of consolidation in that space in the game developer area, because right now, actually in all areas really, it's the same with Netflix or HBO Max or Disney Plus. I mean, it's all about like owning and controlling content. Amazon just recently bought MGM Studios, like the company that makes all the James Bond movies. You didn't hear this?
For real?
Yeah.
Bro.
They announced it like last year, but it finally was finalized, and I don't have the details on that one because it's not really video game related. Exactly.
Start a media company and just sell it off.
Dan's excited about that one. But yeah, I mean they bought MGM Studios, which has all these. They have a lot of like classic movies, like from the like 50s and 60s, and then they have like the James Bond series and some other big stuff. But they own that now, which means that'll only be on their streaming platform. Just like Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars, so that all that stuff, all that content, new and old, is going to be exclusive to their platform. And that's very similar to what's happening in the game industry. I mean, these companies have consoles like Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony, but where the game studios used to just shop their games around to different platforms, maybe make a game multi-platform. But exclusives were kind of, they were always there, but it was never, the majority. It was always just the majority would be kind of mainstream games that go to all consoles. But in the world of gaming now, it's very much about having kind of closed ecosystems, where you have your online service, your selection of exclusive gaming content, and you want to keep people in your world and on your device and playing games that you own, or games of studios that you own. So everything stays within your ecosystem. So you're getting money essentially on all of that stuff. And so anyway, yeah, that's a long way to say that Atari has bought Moby Games. But consolidation continues to happen across industry and especially in the gaming community that all of us are interested in. And in other news, retro gaming related, speaking of digital games on the Nintendo Switch Online service, they've added more Genesis games. They've actually added more of a lot of games on there, but I had some notes on Genesis games because these are, I think, some really cool games that are now on there. Light Crusader, Alien Soldier, and Super Fantasy Zone. Those are all some really cool like Genesis games that are now available on Nintendo Switch Online. So really cool. It's always good for these companies to have more games on their platform. But it's just kind of a double-edged sword because once they go exclusive to a platform, it's great for those people, but it really cuts out a lot of the rest of the market for those, and so that's very unfortunate. Kind of dividing of the community. But anyway, that's what's going on in the news. So let's go on now to level 2 company events and see what's happening at your local Game Over video game store. And welcome back to level 2 company events. So let's see what's going on at your local Game Over video game store. So let's see. First thing going on, we had live music last week in the North Austin Game Over Video Game Store at 183 in Lamar. We had a live music showcase called Nerdcore Days from our good friend DJ Rockman. He brought a bunch of bands in that were in town for South by Southwest, and got them all into our place and a couple other places around town to do free in-store performances. And so one of them was here last Friday. It was really cool, and we're going to show you some of that footage later on in the feature section of the show. But thank you to all those guys for coming out. We had some really great music, good time. The store was packed all day Friday. People enjoying the music, and so it was a really fun event. So sorry if you missed out, but always stay tuned to this show or your local Game Over Video Games, social media pages, and we do try and do fun stuff like that from time to time. We do sales, we do tournaments, we do in-store events and meet and greets and things like that. So it's always something fun going on at your local Game Over Video Game store. Otherwise, in the stores, we also do sales all the time. So definitely take advantage of those. Got a couple of sales coming up to tell you about today. First one is running March 25th through March 31st. So just basically the last week of March. It's wallet and lanyard sale, 25% off those. That's in all of our retail stores and online with code GAMER25.
I think I need a new wallet. What do you think?
Yeah, Dan needs a new wallet.
See this? Look at this thing.
This is a sad.
This wallet.
It's also very thin. I'm sorry. No.
You don't pay me.
I'm just kidding. I know.
This is from the New York Nintendo store.
Oh, wow.
Like 4 or 5 years ago.
Very nice. But yeah, this is what happens to wallet. Look at the back. Like you can see, I think it was green all over at one point.
It was green all over, and there was like a nice green lining around it, and all that's gone.
Yeah.
And even like the Super Mario logo is like gone. So.
Wallets just wear out.
Your wallet looks like mine.
Yeah. Time to upgrade. And most of the wallets we sell are like $20, so 25% off makes them like 15. So that's not bad.
That's good.
And wallets after a year or two, they all kind of look like that. So will it last you forever? No. But do they look cool? Yeah, they do. Cooler than your wallet. So come get one of ours. All right. So that's the next sale, probably going on right now while you're watching this show. After that, we've got the first week in April. April 1st through 7th is a controllers and cables sale. So 25% off all your extra controllers, AV cords, power cords, things that plug into consoles. So those are all 20% off, and you can use that online at GameOverVideoGames.com with code CONTROL20. And so either one of those two sales, you can use the online codes on our web store, and that's always fun. So you can shop from anywhere in the country. Shipping is a flat $10, and you can buy as much as you want, and we ship it all for just one $10 fee. So really cool. So those are the next two sales. Also, we have a trade-in bounty going on right now on Nintendo NES games. There's different games at every store that they're wanting, like their most wanted list. And so you can check your local store, look for the big board. They have a LED board somewhere near the front of the store that has like their trade bounties on it. And check that out. We're paying extra cash for those games through March 31st. So definitely check that out in stores. Also in Game Over stores, we have our Super Retro Challenge, which is like Saturday free tournaments that we do. Those are coming up on April 9th. So again, right around the time you're watching this show, free tournaments are about to go on at your local Game Over video game stores. So April 9th, it's a Saturday. Normally they start about 5 or 6 o'clock at night. You can see the local store Facebook pages for the game they're playing and all the details on signups and rules and all that kind of stuff. You get prizes like gift cards to Game Over if you win. There's no penalty for losing. And you're going to have fun either way. So come out, support the stores, support the retro gaming community, meet friends that live near you and like video games just like you do. And if you want to know the details, the 5 stores we're doing it at Bellevue, Washington. We're doing it in Arlington, Texas. We're doing it in South Austin. And we're doing it in the Selma store near San Antonio and the store in Houston on the far north side on 1960. So check out those 5 stores and their local Facebook pages to see details on that, and we hope to see you out April the 9th for that. In Classic Game Fest news, we are now over 90 vendors signed up. The vendor hall is really filling up, so if you want a booth, you need to get on that. Classic Game Fest, it is July 23rd and 24th. It's at the Palmer Event Center in Austin, Texas. It's downtown, just right across the river, so there's actually a fantastic view of downtown from that venue. It's a really cool venue. We love it, and we've been there for I don't know, like 8 or 9 years, I think, for CGF now. So really great. Also, I've heard a lot about different events, calling themselves like, we're the best, Comic-Con, we're the best, we're the biggest, we're the whatever. So we always call Classic Game Fest the biggest retro gaming event in Texas. And so just in case you were wondering, why do we call it that? Is it just made up? Is it just, something that's not statistically proven? No, it is 100% true. We call it the biggest in Texas because it is the biggest in Texas.
By what? By per capita?
Per attendance, and per square footage.
Nice.
So there is no retro gaming event in Texas that has more than 75,000 square feet, which is what we have. And that's just the hall space. That's not even counting the hallways, and I guess it's probably more like 80 or 90 if you include all that. But in the actual vendor halls, 75,000. Also attendance. Last year we had well over 7,000 people come. The next biggest event in Texas that's retro related is I want to say about 3,000 to 4,000. It's about half of what CGF is. So you could probably add up all the other retro gaming events in Texas, and it's maybe the size of CGF if you put them all together.
Austin, man.
So, but yeah. So I mean, we're one of the biggest, the oldest. We're right in the middle of the state, so it's convenient more or less to everybody from all over Texas, and people come from Texas and beyond now to CGF. So it's it's definitely not just a slogan, not a catchy slogan, but it is catchy, isn't it? But yeah, so it is literally the biggest in Texas, and it will continue to be so because it's just awesome. So you should definitely check that out. So over 7,000 people. It's crazy the amount of stuff that is for sale in that vendor space that's retro gaming related is just unreal amount of cool stuff. Right now on CGF, I am working on floor plans. We're still finalizing some final guests and bands for the lineup. But we're announcing that on our social media pages for CGF every week. So we're announcing new guests or new bands every week. And we're continuing to do that. The floor plan should be finalized probably in the next month or so. We're still making some changes to it from last year. We always kind of tweak it a little bit from year to year. But this year especially, we're revising it to allow a bit more space for the arcade, which was one of our feedback items from last year, that the arcade was in a small little space. And, partly because everything else had to be kind of spaced out more than normal because of the COVID restrictions and stuff like that. So there was just one room left for arcade, and it was kind of small. Which was kind of ironic because we were trying to, avoid the COVID issues. but yeah, so it was a small space, and that was, not great. We love having the arcade, but we're going to make it definitely a much bigger, more open type space this year. And so that's one of our big changes. Also, we're adding more just room and space around the tournament areas, and we're trying to allow for more vendor tables also, because we had some of the aisles between the booths were extra wide because of the COVID restrictions and everything, and now we're going to go back to more of a 10-foot aisle measurement, which for any of you that go to conventions a lot or have conventions of your own, normally it's about a 10-foot aisle is what you have between the booths, and that gives plenty of room for people to be standing at a booth on this side and standing at the booth on this side, and still have enough room in the middle for people to walk through. So 10 foot's kind of the standard, but last year we had a lot of our aisles were 13 or 15 feet, just to give even extra space so people didn't get too claustrophobic around each other. But so it'll be more of a normal floor plan this year. So that's good, and that allows for more vendors and more stuff. More stuff is good. Yeah.
When's that kissing booth getting?
I don't know. I hear there's going to be a kissing booth this year that Dan is running. He's going to dress as who are you going to dress as?
Well, I think what I'm going to do is
Rosalina?
have multiple costumes available. Like, do you want to kiss Samus? Do you want to kiss?
You're going to change costumes between each kiss?
Yeah. This is not cheap. All right. This is a prime.
So Dan is planning a very elaborate kissing booth at CGF. So any video game character, who would I want to kiss? Yeah. I don't know.
Lara Croft?
Yeah.
Man?
Yeah. How about Lara Croft?
Okay, Lara Croft.
Lara Croft. So Dan's going to dress up as Lara Croft at his kissing booth, and I'm going to be first in line, and we're going to show him how it works.
We'll do it.
All right.
No tongue.
What's the point of kissing Lara Croft with no tongue? What? Oh, there's tongue.
Tongue costs extra.
All right, we're going to have to edit that part out of this show.
Really? Do you want to cut?
No, it's okay. All right, so where are we at? I'm all like distracted now. I'm thinking of Lara Croft.
Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, by the way, I think they're making a new Lara Croft movie, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because you remember they did the one with, what's her name? Alicia? No. I know Angelina did the first ones, but they did a new one, like like they've done with everything, the newer, grittier reboot type thing. They had one a couple years ago. Her name was Alicia something.
Yeah, Alicia
Vikander.
I never knew this existed.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. But yeah, but I think they're making another one with her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
She must have been good.
So it was good. Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was good. I mean, for a Tomb Raider movie, you kind of know what to expect, but it was more, like I said, it was more realistic, I guess, than the Angelina Jolie ones. Those were more about looks. So there's a little more action in this one. But anyway, yeah. So I think they're making another one of those. So anyway, your kissing booth will be perfectly timed for CGF. So just have that Lara Croft costume ready.
Got it.
All right, cool. Be looking forward to it. Okay. So let's see. And talking about CGF too, and the floor plan and everything, because of all the restrictions and everything last year, when it came time to work on that floor plan, I worked on it, I think 4 different times. I think we had 4 different CGF floor plans because of the rules and the virus, precautions and everything. The first one, obviously we didn't do it at all for a while. We had to delay it and postpone it and stuff, and nobody was able to do any events for like a year or so there. And then you could do events, but you had to have all these rules, like you'd have to have COVID testing, or have a COVID vaccination card, or your booth would have to be spread out. So like we had a floor plan initially for the one last year that was going to have the booths kind of like just all staggered in the room. So it'd be like everything would be spread out from everything, and there'd be a very limited number of vendors, and so we had that set up. And then the rules for COVID changed about every 2 or 3 months, and so we were constantly redoing this. And then we did it a little differently to have them a little closer. And then we had kind of a more normal setup, but then the aisles were really wide. And then we had kind of a normal setup with some of the aisles being normal and some of them being extra wide, and that ended up being kind of the one we went with. So it did look and feel pretty normal last year as far as the setup, but this year will be a more straight up normal Comic-Con style layout, but of course all retro gaming focused. So anyway, so I'm really excited. This will be our first kind of normal CGF in like 3 years. And it's our 15th anniversary for CGF, so you definitely want to come to that one. We hope you come check it out. You can get tickets, vendor booths, get info on both of those, pricing, details, and all other information about CGF online at classicgamefest.com. So definitely go there and check that out. All right. And that is all of the company events for Game Over and Classic Game Fest. So now let's go on to level 3. And for the features section, we're going to look at some of those videos from the live music at our Game Over store in North Austin last week. So let's go there now. And we're back with the features section of this show. Today we're going to focus on the live music performances from the Game Over Video Games store in North Austin last week during South by Southwest and the Nerdcore Days live showcase put on by DJ Rockman at the North Austin Game Over store. So what we have now is we're going to show you some of the footage that I recorded on my phone. So it's not professionally recorded, obviously. And so you might have some sound issues. It might be like, me moving, my phone around to record. I also kept getting like either interrupted, or I'd get a phone call or a text or something. And so, we couldn't really get good, solid, long footage of anybody. But I did get a lot of small snippets of different performers. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to have Dan work some movie magic and take some of my various clips that I got and splice them all together. And so this is going to be, not full songs, but it'll be like a montage of several of the different artists and the fun that we had at Game Over last week in North Austin. So let's show that footage now, and I hope you enjoy it. And please forgive any of the, like I said, jerky audio, bad audio, bad video, movement, bad audio. So please forgive us. It's not professionally recorded, but we hope you enjoy the music. It was a really cool event. So yeah, check it out.
after the A-wall. All for one, none for y'all. Test your skills, try your luck. This the body, pass the buck. Cowboy after the A-wall. All for one, none for y'all. Test your skills, try your luck. This the body, pass the buck.
Yeah.
I did mine. When we fumble on stage, we gotta do push-ups. We call them F-ups. We gotta do push-ups. But I do mine on stage, so I don't gotta do as many as them. Let's run. Full battle, pro black the model. Other slave drives like Bradley Macarello. Super little Prado, Trophy Separato. Flint, Michigan, all the way to Chicago.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
we have a fumbling microphone.
And we're back with level 4, and this is the boss battle time. So the boss battle for this week is kind of a continuation of a boss battle from way earlier in the show about COVID. So we mentioned the COVID virus earlier in the show and how we had to redraw the CGF floor plan several times because of the restrictions, even postponing the event a couple years ago, and all that kind of stuff. And it was a rough time for event organizers around the country and around the world, really. But this is it's a positive boss battle because since all of us who own and operate businesses really struggled during COVID, we all had to close in some way, shape, or form. Not all of us reopened in any shape or form. And then some of us that did reopen, are just not the same. And some will never be the same. Some, it took a long time to get up to being the same again. Luckily for Game Over, I mean, we were, almost down and out too. We shut down, we furloughed employees, we were, on the verge of being basically out of business, and then slowly but surely, kind of fought our way back up. And, we're able to reopen and we had the restrictions in place on, curbside, people shopping at the door or by phone and then coming in with masks and limiting number of people in the store at a time and all that kind of stuff that, everybody had to do to kind of survive the past couple of years. And then slowly but surely, we finally got back to normal. It was a little bit like a roller coaster. We'd have these, times when things seemed good, and then you'd have like, oh, there's another variant of the virus, and so everything would kind of, get a little, more tense again, and then it kind of opened back up. And but so the boss battle this week is COVID, and even though we've had many battles, I feel like the battle or the war is basically over now. Or almost over. And so it's to a point now where, I understand COVID's still there. I understand it's still dangerous and people, died and will die from it. And that's horrible. And, none of us want that. But the majority of, the United States, is vaccinated, or at least those people that are most vulnerable are vaccinated or protected. And, and so at this point, every state in the country has now lifted the mask mandates, and so you no longer have to mask up at virtually anything outside of a hospital or public transportation. And it sounds like even public transportation might be giving way next month. So the boss battle against COVID is pretty much over. So I won't say it's done and it's forever gone, but it's really nice to be, seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, right? So seeing that we're close to the end of COVID. People are going back out shopping again, and so that's good. We need that coming into our stores. Any small business, it's very nice to be able to work from home for some people, but not all people can do that. And it's nice to be able to shop from home for some things, but not all people can do that. And not all things can be sold that way. And so, in the best interests of all of us and the country at large and the world at large, it's important that we all try and find a way to get back to our normal lives. And so that's what we're doing right now. It's not ignoring the virus. It's just, we've been vaccinated, we've been boosted, we've protected ourselves and each other for so long now that we're about as protected as we're going to get. And so at this point, it's time to go back to normal. So yeah, it's a good time for businesses. People are feeling more comfortable coming back out. It was a rough time there, and I know, for both Game Over and Classic Game Fest, it was rough for me personally, because not just financially, like both businesses that I own basically cratered and almost died, in an instant, pretty much. Because both were arguably successful, to some extent before, and then were almost nothing and just wiped out. But what's funny is, like, even fighting through that and even trying to, claw our way back with restrictions on Classic Game Fest and, postponing the event or spreading the booths out and all that stuff we had to do, like all this extra work, like we did it because we wanted to keep going. We wanted to be safe, but we wanted to also keep going. And the whole time, there were people on social media for Game Over and Classic Game Fest that would complain about, I can't believe your stores are open. I can't believe you're going to have a Classic Game Fest, in the midst of a virus, and all this stuff. And so on the one hand, you had customers and employees of both Game Over Video Games and Classic Game Fest that were begging to come back to work, begging to get their lives back on track, and they needed the money and the jobs to do that, and wanting events like Classic Game Fest to come back as well. And then on the other hand, you had people telling me that I was some kind of cruel dictator of a boss, and that I cared about money over people, and that it was just inconceivable and heartless, and that I was killing people by having an open store and an open event. And that's tough because you're basically having people saying, if I don't come back to work soon, I'm financially dead. And if I have a job that's open or an event or whatever, because of this virus, people are going to be dead. And so everybody kind of hated me for a while there. And that's always tough for a boss. I mean, nobody ever loves their boss, but no boss ever loves to be hated either. So it was definitely a rough time, and I always tried to kind of walk the line down the middle, where it's like, I hear you about needing to be as safe as we can, and we're doing that. And I hear you about needing events to come back, life to come back, stores to come back, jobs to come back. I hear you guys too, and I'm doing that too. So I'm trying to walk that that very narrow middle ground between pleasing these two camps. But nobody was fully happy, and so it was a really rough time. And so it was a boss battle that lasted like 2 years. But at this point, I'm here to say that, I'm done with it. And so, the mask mandates have been lifted in all the states. Lives are getting back to normal. If you don't feel safe and you don't feel protected, please feel free to wear your mask. We will not judge or penalize or, anything. Wear your mask. But just know that, for our stores, for our, states where we operate, and, for all of our customers and employees, we still will be as safe as we can, but life is back to normal now. So there's no more restrictions in any way at our stores. So we're ready to get on with life. We need to get on with life. you can only be down and out, for so long, and then you've got to pick yourself up. You got to be brave. You got to take those steps, and go back to work, go back to school, go back to life, go back to conventions and events, and so I think we're doing that now collectively for the most part. Some of us and some businesses will never get back to that point. They won't be able to accept the new normal. But we encourage all of you to try. And definitely when you get out, try and support your local businesses as much as possible, because this past 2 years of this COVID epidemic, has been, or pandemic, I should say. Now it's more of an endemic, but the pandemic, it's been awful for all of us, and a lot of businesses haven't made it. And so when you do go out now, make sure that you support, local stores and local chains instead of the big box chains, because they need it. They need it. Game Over needs it. Classic Game Fest needs it. We all need it. More so than ever. It's a time to show your support with your wallet and spend money at places that you support and agree with, and show them you appreciate them being there and going through all these battles for the past 2 years. So anyway, that is the boss battle this week. So the boss battle, COVID. This will be the last time, hopefully, that I mention it. It is now officially a battle that is over. So we're moving on. So let's go on to the bonus level now with fan feedback. And we're back with the bonus level fan feedback. We're going to wrap up the show, talk about all the comments we've gotten over the past week or so. So let's get into that now. Larry, my friend, good friend, frequent customer and supporter and commenter on the show. So hi, how's it going? Good. So Larry commented on there. We were talking about, I was talking about being bullied last week, and how, it's funny that, middle-aged guy still bullied by other middle-aged guys. It still happens. I don't know why, but some people never change. But he was like, I can't imagine you being bullied. You're the nicest guy. And so, thanks. I try to be nice, but I'll be the first one to tell people, I can be a jerk too. I have opinions, and I definitely will fight tooth and nail for my businesses and my employees. I will stand up to, whatever I need to do to get, to make those people, the employees, the customers, and the stores all work, and be successful. So I'm not perfect for sure, but like we said last week, sometimes bullies they don't outgrow that. They start when they're kids. They become, kind of jerks of adults, and, nobody ever tells them off. And if they do, they just turn it around and make it seem like there's something wrong with you for telling them they're being a jerk. And so it never really stops and changes. But anyway, and I had I think you had a comment, Larry, on this, because I wrote down here Biff and Back to the Future. I think you mentioned that on your comment. But yeah, you remember the Back to the Future movies, and how like Biff from now and Biff from the 50s, and it's he didn't change. Even old grumpy Biff in the future, still an asshole. Right? Sorry, bad word. But still a jerk, right? He just didn't change. And then finally at the end, there was some redemption of his character, and he changed a little bit. And he's like, "Ooh, look at your book. Hey, Marty." He got real nice in the end, but it took a long time. But his main character arc, he didn't change at any age. So sometimes bullies just never change that lifestyle and that attitude. He says people are clearly jealous. Maybe, yeah. And stay resilient. Yeah, I always try to. And he mentioned Game Fellas, which is another local indie chain in the Austin area. And I told him, and I'll tell all of you, it was not Game Fellas. Game Fellas is fine. I actually like those guys a lot. So nothing against them. But yeah, some people that have other stores or other events like Classic Game Fest, and they just want to just trash you and your stores or your event. And then you try and ignore them, and they keep doing it, and you maybe try and say something to them, and then they turn around like you're the jerk. And so you really can't win sometimes. You ignore them, you're a jerk or a wimp, and then you fight them back, and you're a jerk and a bully. And so I don't know. But yes, not Game Fellas, and I wish that wasn't the way of the world, but it just kind of is. People are just like that. So we just have to try and, be the bigger person and move on, all that stuff your parents would say. Like, you be the bigger person, you walk away from that fight, you tell them to stop one time, you try and call them out on it, but then, if they're just not listening to it, they just don't get it, they're not gonna change, you can't fight it. You just have to walk away. So anyway, moving on, Leptonics says, great show. Loved Booger Man, all the bathroom humor. That game is like nonstop bathroom humor. It's just farts and burps the whole game. So that was fun. And he says, bashing a competitor speaks poorly on your company. And I agree. So that's why, even the times that I have spoken out and been kind of a jerk, I always feel bad afterwards, and I apologize. I'm like, I really shouldn't have said that, But some people don't. They're a jerk and unapologetically a jerk. And it just goes on. They're like, I don't care. Oh, well. So not much you can do about that. And then let's see, a couple other comments. Good video, awesome video. Booger Man is amazing. So there's a lot of love for that game Booger Man that we showed in the last show. And I hope that if you listen to the podcast audio version of this show, you didn't get to see the video footage of the game. But I hope you enjoyed reading through the manual and some of the moves and the story and the comments about that game, because I imagine just that is pretty funny, just on its own. So anyway, just one of those weird, 90s games that was very edgy at the time and, hated by parents and I guess loved by just goofy teenagers that just love that kind of humor. Anyway, so that's all the feedback on the show, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions. What should I do on a show? What should I talk about on a show? What would you like to know about Game Over or Classic Game Fest, or just running a business in general, or I don't know, life, or the war in Ukraine, or I don't know, politics. No, don't do politics or Ukraine. That's too much, too heavy. But yeah, anything you want to talk about or hear about, feel free to suggest stuff. You can email me at podcast@gameovervideogames.com, or you can comment on the streams of any of the podcast streams, or when we post it to Facebook and YouTube. There's places, obviously, to comment on those channels. So yeah, drop me a line, and I will try and answer your questions on future shows. So that's it. So thank you for your business and support of our stores. As always, we wouldn't be here without you. So, if you stop shopping in our stores or coming to Classic Game Fest, they disappear. They're not just going to happen with nobody there. So we need your support. So thank you for giving it. So I hope everybody has a great week. Please join us next time on the next episode of Game Overcast. And yeah, that's it. So that's it for now. Game over. So we had Yoda in all the movies and shows and everything, and then we have this one, but we've never seen. I guess we always assumed Yoda's male, right?
Yes, Yoda is male.
How do we know?
I don't know. Let's start.
Huh? Maybe they are just asexual. They just they don't have. They just spawn an egg, and it just. There's no sexual reproduction. It just
fertilize the egg.
Well, just there's asexual reproduction, right?
Well, doesn't that usually mean that they're atoms split in half? Not that they're laying eggs.
Well, that they
self-fertilizing eggs.
Yeah.
Maybe they're plants.
I forget.
They're plants.
Let me think back in school.
No. They're plants, right? And so bees will come and fertilize their ears.
What? No. Bees don't fertilize the ear.
And then they sprout seeds. They sprout seeds, and then they land in the ground, and then more Yodas grow out of the ground. They're green.
No.
They have beta carotene.
That is the worst explanation ever.
Dude, Star Wars, man. It's weird shit in Star Wars.
Huh.
All right, let's start this show before we get too.
I don't know.
Weirder.
Okay.
Ready?
Well, Grogu and I have the same haircut.
And Rob.
We both have big ears, shaved head, a dark sadness in our eyes.